This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
From Houston, Texas, this is the Liberty Root Podcast.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
History is absolutely crystal clear that there is no alternative way so far discovered of improving the lot of the ordinary people that can hold a candle to the productive activities that are unleashed by a free enterprise system.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Liberty Root Podcast on this 18th day of October 2017. I'm so happy that you guys are joining me today. And before we jump into the main things that I want to talk about today, I want to touch on these crazy wildfires that are going on in Northern California right now. And it's just crazy. I just saw an article that they're now calling for more evacuations. And when I last looked, I think there was like 7 or 8 wildfires, and this was maybe 2 days ago when I looked. And now it says that the firefighters are battling 17 large wildfires. And so far it's claimed the life of 35 people, and there are still hundreds missing. And this thing is leveling entire neighborhoods as the blaze continues on. It says here it has charred more than 221,000 acres and has forced more than 20,000 residents to evacuate from their homes and their neighborhoods. And there's this picture on ABC News that I'm looking at right now, and it has a little slide thing, and it has a regular picture of a suburban neighborhood in Coffee Park, which is in Santa Rosa, California. And you can slide this thing over, and it shows that exact same neighborhood now as the fires have ripped through there, and it is devastating. It is just unbelievable. So our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody who's dealing with this, and hopefully that they can get these things put out in a very safe and timely manner. Okay. So now let's switch gears. I want to get back to the Las Vegas thing. And as you noticed, I didn't cover anything over it last week during the podcast because we still really don't know a motive and things are constantly developing every time that we turn on the television. But I wanted to take a moment in this podcast to just say, what the heck is going on in Las Vegas? I mean, normally I'm not a conspiracy theorist and I don't like to buy into conspiracy theories, but man, this thing is crazy. I talked about just the other day, the sheriff's office came out with a time that they believe he checked into his room, but the MGM Resorts, who own Mandalay Bay, they also came out and said that he booked his room. I don't remember if it was a few minutes earlier, but it differed from the time that the sheriff's department came out with. And something like that, I mean, that's something that they can get down to be accurate because there's 3 stages of checking into a hotel when you check in, that times when you're checking in. One is when they swipe your credit card. It's timed on that. On the receipt, it'll print a time. And also when they activate your key card for your room, that's also timed as to when that takes place. And also when they book you in your reservation from taking that room from being vacant to occupied, that's also timed in the system when that happens. So I don't understand, of all things, why that is a contradictory issue. It seems like those would be lining up. And MGM has doubled down now and said that the sheriff's department's reports seem off or odd to them. Also, I can't wrap my mind around that the there's a girl who was running around the concert yelling, "You're all going to die." And we haven't heard anything about her, where she's at, who she is, anything of that nature. And the last post that I can find on her was from October 2nd, which is October 3rd, which is just a couple days after the shooting happened. So why is there no updates on her? I mean, if she could be an accomplice to this whole thing, but we have no idea where she's at, who she is. And I'm wondering, I mean, you have the greatest task force in the world being the FBI, who is supposedly combing through every single detail, but we can't find this girl who was at the concert telling everybody that they're going to die. I mean, it may be nothing. She may be a lunatic. It may be crazy, but there could be something that comes out of this. But we know that law enforcement must not be too serious about about this case, which is fascinating to me, because the shooter's home in Reno, Nevada, it's not roped off. Within 5 days after them doing their initial investigation of the house, I mean, normally when you have high cases and high priority cases such as this one, they rope off and they shut off the home where they're doing the investigating, but there was no police tape to be found. There was no guards outside his home to prevent, people from going in there and rummaging around. And what happened last weekend? His house was broken into. Now, why? Why is it something that they were wanting people to do, to go in and messy up the crime scene? I mean, there's so many moving parts into this thing, and most of the moving parts don't make any sense to me. I just don't understand it. I mean, do these people not talk? It seemed like you would have the MGM Grand, you'd have the Las Vegas Sheriff's Department, you'd have the FBI and all other forces who were assisting in this investigation. I mean, are they all conducting their own individual investigations, or are they working together to try to find out the cause and the motive for the shooting? I mean, it's one of the most carelessly combed through investigations that I've really ever seen. I mean, and I'm not criticizing law enforcement at all for this, because I still, to this day, I'm under the belief that the Las Vegas Police Department responded in the best way that they could have possibly responded in. But I'm talking about in the aftermath of an event such as this, what's going on? I mean, we're 2 weeks into this, over 2 weeks into this, and we really still don't have anything? Nothing. And I understand as new details emerge, it's constantly changing every time that they come to the microphone to do these press conferences. But I feel like with this particular case, I feel like every time that they come up to the microphone, it drastically changes. Either that's from the timeline of events, what kind of weapons he had, how many he had in the room, the accounts from the guard who was on the floor with him that night, other people who were in the hotel, their eyewitness accounts. I feel like everything is being changed, like drastically changed, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I just hope, I mean, these parents are going through something terrible, and the loved ones of the people who are affected in this, I hope that they can get at least some sort of closure in the matter. But the way things are going right now, I feel like, they're coming out with things and they don't even know. Can you imagine being a parent of someone who's affected by this? How frustrated you must be? You think that they're getting somewhere with the investigation, and when you flip the TV on 2 hours later, it's different from what you initially thought or heard? I don't know. I just hope, I know it's difficult in a situation like this because, there was no note that was left. I know that some people were saying that in one of the pictures, there was a note that was written or something, but no, it was not a suicide note. That has actually been confirmed by the Las Vegas Sheriff's Department, that there's no note, there is no nothing right now. And I understand how hard that would be to try and go into a situation and find out the facts and evidence, but please do not come out with statements until you know for sure for it to be fact. Because the more they flip-flop and the more the timelines change, and MGM isn't matching up their statements with the Sheriff's Department. I mean, from that, you cluster social media with people who are bringing about these conspiracy theories. I mean, they're going to anyways, but when the own departments who are investigating this case make statements without them even knowing exactly what's going on, it makes me start believing some of these conspiracy theories that are out there. Because a lot of the conspiracy theories, even though they're separate and different, they all kind of line up to this not being a one-man job. I don't know. I just hope that, this gets resolved, and I hope going forward from this moment, they're more diligent in what they say. I'm sure they're doing a great job as far as behind-the-scenes investigation, besides the house in Reno. I still don't get that. But I just hope that they're more careful, I guess I should say, when they step to the microphone with these press conferences. Before just stating things, actually know it to be fact, because you're just stirring the pot for everybody who's watching you. All right, now that's all I want to discuss on the Vegas issue at the moment. Next week, we can bring you hopefully some more evidence and factual information as to what really went into this whole thing. Now, I want to ask the question, what's going on with President Trumpity Trump? What possesses this president to think it's a good idea to put fuel on a fire that's already burning? Or to put fuel on a fire that's diminishing? The new we've slapped North Korea over the past couple months with multiple sanctions that are crippling their economy. It's starving more people in their country, which I'm not against. I'm against, anybody having to starve, but if it's going to protect our nation, I'm all for doing anything and everything, especially when you have a lunatic leader such as Kim Jong-un at the realm of a very rogue nation. I'm all for any ways, means that we can do to prevent them from doing any type of harm here. Which is kind of devastating because those people, they weren't cared for anyway under Un, so he's not really, concerned with what's hurting the people of North Korea. He is more worried about what's going to take away his money and diminish him of what little power he has. He thinks he has a lot, but so that's why the sanctions that are directly toward him as far as trade and things like that are, making him mad. And it's shown, in the past few weeks, even from Tillerson and Mattis, that he has been backing off, and it seems like, he hasn't done any tests now for a few days. But then Trump comes out, and just he goes to Twitter and says things like, Little Rocket Man won't be around much longer, and things just to ramp up the American citizen, or the Trumpsters, for that matter. And it's quite fascinating to me because I understand that North Korea is a real threat to the security of our country. I understand that. And I understand that negotiation can only go so far. Obama, look at his presidency. That was a disaster. I mean, he was all about negotiating, in favor for only one country, and that favorability was always towards the other country, and we got nothing in return. Just look at the Iran deal. That was a disaster, which I will say that I'm proud of Trump for standing up and trying to get this thing torn up. But when it comes to this, I mean, I'm going to take the advice of the people who are proficient in what they do as their role in leadership in this administration, this Trump administration, such as like Mattis. Like, I'm going to trust that guy. What he says, I'm going to believe. And the relationship behind closed doors between Trump and Mattis, I'm kind of confused as to what it is. Because Mattis says one thing, Trump says another. Not necessarily says another, but he goes onto Twitter and stirs up the pot when everything seems to be kind of, staying neutral or even calming down just a little bit. Like I said, he puts fuel on already fire or even the diminished fire to spark it up again and let it go. And then after that tweet, Un comes out after he's been kind of quiet for a couple days and says that the U.S. just declared war on us, and it just ramps it all up again. I understand if there's an immediate, prominent threat, which we have surveillance over there right now that's beyond belief in that country, to know if there's actually an imminent threat that is threatening us right now. And we would take care of the problem, I believe, under Mattis. But why come out, Donald Trump, and say these things to make things worse? I mean, you always know that's not a good idea. Just like when you're in a marriage and you get into an argument, and you before you make that little last jab or try to get the last word in it, sometimes it's not good. You just got to stop yourself. Kind of diffuse the situation. Remove yourself from the situation. And let the people who you appointed to jobs on national security, let them be your voice in this. And let them tell you what's best to say and not say, with so we don't stir up the pot and make things a lot worse. That's like me. That'd be like me going in to doing open heart surgery on somebody. I have no idea. I would make things worse. If I did open heart surgery on somebody, I'd make things worse. And I do not want you to walk away from this podcast thinking that I do not think North Korea is a threat. I do. I really think North Korea is a threat. And if these remarks were coming from, anybody else, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But this is the President of the United States. This is the current leader of our country. And he takes to social media like a giddy schoolgirl. I'm sorry. I don't mean to show my disrespect for the President of the United States, but when something is presented in front of you, you can only call it like it is. I mean, can you imagine if Ted Cruz was president? I mean, I dream about it often. But can you imagine if he was actually in the Oval Office, Ted Cruz? Would he be saying things like this? No, he wouldn't. Would Rand Paul be saying things like this if he occupied the White House? This is, like I've told you during the campaign, this is the celebrity president that we're going to see. I feel like it's almost like Trump is playing a role as being president on Saturday Night Live. I'm just waiting for President Trump to just say, Little Rocket Man, they won't be around much longer. Pause and say, live from New York, it's Saturday night. I'm waiting for that. But the more time that passes and the more tweets that I see, I know that a commercial break would have already came and went, and he still hadn't said the line, live from New York, it's Saturday night. I realize that when I wake up the next morning, I'm still going to see another tweet from this president that has no business being tweeted. Yes, I'm all for free speech. Yes, I'm all for the right to express yourself, no matter how you want to do it. Holding up a picket sign or going to social media. But the saying, you've got to be buttoned up, isn't just a saying. It's a lifestyle that needs to be lived by certain people who are put in certain roles. Do I think Trump should stop tweeting? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Do I think he needs to establish himself better before he tweets? Absolutely. And normally it's the morning tweets that catch me off guard. This particular tweet was at 10:08 p.m. on September 23rd, 2017. I don't know if it was the cocktail talking or what it was. But there just needs to be a serious conversation that takes place with this administration and really talk about how to diffuse a situation and not to influence a situation to becoming something worse than it already is. You know, when you see something getting better, you continue doing what you're doing so it continues to get better. And once you've tried everything in your power to make it better and you still see it diminishing or sliding into something deeper and darker, okay, that's when action needs to be taken. But we've seen a pullback with the North Koreans in the last few days. Like I said, this could always change, and I'm sure it will, because he's like the caliphate. You know, with ISIS wants a one-ruled, Islamic state worldwide. Kim Jong-un wants power of the world. So they'll stop at nothing to get it done. But right now in this situation, there's no need to add fuel to that fire. This is just me speaking here. My opinion, my voice, my thoughts. I know many people are going to disagree with me, and many people are going to think that, that I'm a sympathizer with North Korea. I am the furthest thing from being a sympathizer to North Korea. It's a terrorist regime. Kill their own people, kill their own family. How in the world would I be any sort of a sympathizer to such an evil country as this? But I'm just saying I want my president to be presidential, just as I want my quarterback on my football team to be quarterbackial. That's it. That's all I want. Because if we can remove the celebrity aspect, then there very well could stand a president. Back in a minute. Hello, it's Bryce here from Liberty Root, and have you missed one of our past podcasts and just wondering exactly where to go to find them? Well, now it's easier than ever. Go to youtube.com and in the search bar type in Liberty Root Podcast and you can find all of our past episodes that we've done. Also there, you can find every episode of our Heroes in History series. So, that is youtube.com. In the search bar, you need to type in Liberty Root Podcast and you can listen until your little heart is content. Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein has been accused of sexual misconduct towards women spanning for decades. Newly detailed allegations include rape, harassment, and assault. Actresses Angelina Jolie, Ashley Judd, Gwyneth Paltrow are among the women who have spoken out publicly about alleged incidents involving Weinstein. Here's what he has been accused of based off the reports that we have now. An October 5th expose from the New York Times detailed Weinstein's alleged misconduct and said that the Hollywood titan has made 8 settlements with women. Scream actress Rose McGowan was paid a $100,000 settlement from Weinstein in 1997 following a hotel room incident, the Times reported. The settlement wasn't an admission of guilt, the paper described a legal document as saying. Yeah, okay. The Times report also detailed how Weinstein, while in a bathrobe in his hotel room, had asked if he could give actress Ashley Judd a massage or if the star could watch him take a shower. That is absolutely disgusting. How do I get out of this room as fast as possible without alienating Harvey Weinstein? Judge told the newspaper, as she recalled thinking. Former employees told the Times that an unnamed Miramax employee left the company not long after an alleged incident involving the producer. The employee said that the woman received a settlement. In 1998, Zelda Perkins, a former production assistant with Miramax, allegedly confronted Weinstein and told him to stop his inappropriate requests or comments in hotel rooms, the New York Times reported. Perkins, now working as a theater producer in London, was reportedly concerned for other women working in the office and threatened Weinstein's behavior with legal action, according to former co-workers. The Times reported that Miramax negotiated a settlement with Perkins and her lawyer, and Perkins declined to discuss what happened with the newspaper. Emily Nestor, a temporary employee of Weinstein, said that he had made sexual advances to her as well, promising that he'd help her with her career, according to the report. Additionally, the Times reported an incident with Weinstein and an unnamed assistant who he reportedly tried to convince to give him a massage while he stood naked in front of her at a hotel, which left her crying and very distraught, according to a memo by Lauren O'Connor. In O'Connor's 2015 memo, in which she pinned several accounts of women in the company and the atmosphere of Weinstein's advances, she recalled how Weinstein would ask her to meet with aspiring actresses after they'd have meetings and meet with him alone in his hotel room. She wrote how she felt as though she was being used to build relationships with vulnerable women who hope he will get them work. O'Connor reportedly settled with Weinstein. Laura Madden detailed to the Times how Weinstein had asked her more than once for massages at hotels and how he would constantly make her reevaluate herself after rejecting him. It was so manipulative, Madden said. You constantly question yourself. Am I the only one who has this problem? Amber Gutierrez, an Italian model and actress, met with Weinstein in his office in New York Soho neighborhood in 2015, the Times reported. But Gutierrez reportedly called the police hours later saying Weinstein had grabbed her breast while asking if they were real and put his hand up her skirt. Charges were ultimately not filed with Weinstein, and he and Gutierrez reportedly agreed to a settlement, according to an anonymous source who spoke with the Times. Overall, 8 women detailed their alleged inappropriate interactions with Weinstein to the New York Times. The report alleges that various employees were asked to perform turn-down duties for Weinstein, which included getting him ready for bed at night and also waking him up in the morning. I appreciate the way they behaved with the colleagues in the past that has caused a lot of pain, and I sincerely apologize for it, Weinstein told the Times in a statement. Though I am trying to do better, I know I have a long way to go. And here are the developments that came out on Friday, October 6th. Fox 11's Lauren Sivan detailed an alleged 2007 encounter with Weinstein in a HuffPost report. Sivan said that while working for a local news station, Channel 12 in Long Island, Weinstein cornered her in the hallway of a Manhattan restaurant closed to the public and masturbated in front of her. Sivan said she had rejected attempt by Weinstein to kiss her and told him that she had a boyfriend. Well, you can just stand there and shut up, she claims he responded prior to allegedly masturbating. Luckily, I don't need a job or favor from him. Plus, I didn't have to be polite, Sivan tweeted Friday. Others did. Keep that in mind. In another tweet, she said, for those asking why I waited, you tried telling that story 10 years ago. Only possible now because of other women with bigger names and far braver than me have come out. She later spoke out about the alleged incident on Megyn Kelly's NBC show. In a tweet which has since been deleted, Shaun of the Dead actress Jessica Hinde recounted an alleged incident involving Weinstein, People reported. I was offered a film role at 19, the 44-year-old reportedly wrote on Twitter. She alleged that Weinstein came on board and wanted me to screen test in a bikini. I refused and ultimately lost my job. Saturday, October 7th. Former model Zoe Brock wrote in a blog post for Medium that in 1997, when she was 23, she was Harveyed. Brock said she had no intention of leading Weinstein on and felt safe in his company to be herself. Weinstein allegedly tricked her into going to his hotel room where she found herself with no phone and no cash. He appeared naked and asked her for a massage, she said, adding that she felt uncomfortable. Brock eventually, according to her blog post, got Weinstein to let her leave. Sunday, October 8th. The Rap founder Sharon Waxman claimed in an article that while working for the New York Times in 2004, she got the green light to look into oft-related allegations of sexual misconduct by Weinstein. Waxman said she was able to find the man in charge of Miramax Italy, citing multiple accounts. She alleged that his real job was to take care of Weinstein's women's needs, among other things. Waxman claimed she was able to find a woman in London who had been paid off after unwanted sexual encounter with Weinstein. The list goes on and on. I'm not going to continue to read every single day word for word, but you kind of get the idea. Names like Asia Argento, Lucia Evans, Louise Godbold, let's see, Lisa Campbell, let's see, Rosanna Arquette, Catherine Kendall, Tommy Ann Roberts, Dawn Dunning, let's see, Heather Graham, Sarah Ann Massey, Kate Beckinsale, Angie Everhart, Sophie Dix, and that's just a list of the people who's come out up until Friday, October 13th. So I mean, I know that this list is gonna grow because, like with anything of this nature, once somebody comes out and kind of starts the flow, more people start following suit, and they come out and tell their stories afterwards. And I know not all hold credence, and some, will just be saying things just to say things, and they didn't actually occur. But just by looking at this man, doesn't he look like? I mean, I don't mean to profile, but I do at the same time. Doesn't he just look like a sleazeball? Doesn't he fit the description perfectly? I mean, when you hear things like this, and sometimes you're like, man, that guy does not, or that woman does not look like they would do such a thing. Harvey fits the description to a T, in my personal opinion. And here's where I go with this. I understand that many people say, we were scared to come out and, say anything or do anything about it. But, I mean, these things have been going on for over 20 years. And these weren't minor things. It wasn't like, he shot me a glance or he made a quick comment that could be, workplace sexual harassment. These were very intimate things that were going on. I mean, he was raping these women in a lot of these cases. Go through and read. A lot of these was forced upon these women to do the stuff that he wanted to do with them, and it's just amazing to me because just like within any circles, people talk, right? I mean, with any type of loop that you may be involved in, whether it's, classroom or it's work or, in this case, Hollywood, people talk. And it seems like, no matter what the situation is, no matter how much fame it is, the idea of being raped and you coming forward with that seems to me that it far outweighs, you to be employed by this sick, deranged lunatic of a human being. It just seems to me like that. If I got raped, I would let people know about it. Because that affects my personal beliefs and my personal principles. Plus, it's illegal because it was forced upon. That's just me. But what's crazy about this, I'm going to play you something here from the, I think it was 2013. It was on the red carpet, one of those awards. I'm not sure exactly which one it was. But listen to what Seth MacFarlane had to say back in 2013.
The 2012 nominees for Best Performance by an Actress in a Supporting Role are Sally Field in Lincoln, Anne Hathaway in Les Miserables, Jackie Weaver in Silver Linings Playbook, Helen Hunt in The Sessions, and Amy Adams in The Master. Congratulations, you 5 ladies no longer have to pretend to be attracted to Harvey Weinstein.
I realize that sometimes coming forward with allegations is difficult if you're just a single person who was affected. But there's a whole army of women coming out with claims. And having this go on for 20 plus years, you better believe that this was discussed within Hollywood circles. But I guess in this business, sometimes your dignity can be bought with a check. Back in a minute.
You're listening to the Liberty Root Podcast.
Hello, everybody. This is our newest segment here on the podcast that we added just a couple weeks ago, and it's called What's Trending in the News This Week, where we take 3 top stories that are a little bit obscure, but they have been plastered all over social media this week. Here is story number 1. Before they had sex, Daryl Rowe told his partner that he didn't have HIV. But afterwards, Rowe sent a text message to that same partner, not only revealing for the first time that Rowe had HIV, but also bragging about the fact that his partner could now have the virus too. "Maybe you have the fever," Rowe, a 26-year-old from Edinburgh, Scotland, wrote in the text. "I have HIV. Laugh out loud." Oops. How sick is this? This guy knows that he has HIV, and he's purposely infecting others just for the joy of it, maybe, saying, "Hey, I have it, you should too." Disgusting, right? Should be illegal everywhere, right? Well, shortly after this story comes out, here's what California decided to do. Starting January 1st, it'll no longer be a felony in California to knowingly expose a sexual partner to HIV with the intention of spreading the virus. The previous law gave people who intentionally spread HIV up to 8 years in prison. The new legislation lowers jail time to a maximum of 6 months. It will also eliminate the felony penalty to those who knowingly donate HIV-infected blood. Supporters of the law argue that all donated blood is already screened for the virus. I just asked the question, what world do we live in today? So we're now encouraging and decriminalizing transmitting sexual diseases to people? That's fine. Go ahead. What in the world? So that's story number 1. Shall we move on to story number 2? Have you wondered where Sarah Palin's been lately? Haven't heard a lot about her. Well, she's focusing on a great new career path. You ready? Launching skincare products called Amabella Allure Cream. During her 25 years of politics, sitting under the bright lights constantly, Sarah Palin has miraculously managed to not age at all. Now at 53, her secret is finally out. Today we are trying her new product here at People to see if you really can look decades younger in just a few short minutes. Honestly, that's all I have to comment on this matter. I'm sure it'll sell wonderful in Russia. After all, she can just toss them over to him, right? Here's a story that's been a little bit more prevalent in the news, and I'm sure that you have seen. But the gay owner of a coffee shop in Seattle kicked a group of Christians out of his coffee shop Sunday after declaring in obscene terms that he would like to sodomize Jesus Christ. The owner heatedly tells the Christians to leave his shop immediately in a video posted to Facebook by Abolish Human Abortion, a Christian group seeking to end the practice of abortion. The store owner went on to say, "I'm gay, you have to leave," the owner tells the group. "This is offensive to me. I own the place. I have the right to be offended." I would play the video recording on the podcast, but due to the graphic nature of the verbiage used in it, I just suggest and direct you to go to YouTube, and you can listen to the video in all of its glory there. And what's fascinating, isn't it this the same group who was, trying to close down the bakers, the cake for gay wedding people? Do you remember that? Wasn't this the same group of people who were doing that? But now when somebody of a differing opinion comes into their place of business, it's not okay. So, hypocrisy? Everywhere, it's rampant. And those are this week's top 3 what's trending in the news today. Back in a second with Heroes in History. A gentle giant and a man who touched the hearts of people from all over the world. Mahatma Gandhi was born on October 2, 1869. Gandhi's father was a high official in Britain-ruled India, and Gandhi's mother was a very religious woman. Gandhi struggled as a student, but he gained modesty from his father and morale from his mother. His parents together helped Gandhi to live a principled life. At the age of 19, Gandhi went to England to pursue a career as a lawyer, and after graduation from University College in London, he accepted a job in South Africa as a practicing lawyer. He was a prominent lawyer at only 24 years of age. While practicing in Britain-ruled Africa, Gandhi felt as though the people of Indian descent who resided in South Africa were being discriminated against. On one occasion, Gandhi was forced to give up his seat on a train to a European, and when he refused to get up, the train's engineer stopped the train. The staff on board beat Gandhi brutally and threw him off. This was Gandhi's pivot point and his wake-up call. Gandhi formed a peaceful coalition to rise up and fight for equality. Gandhi returned to his home country of India. He believed that by waking his people up to what was happening around the world would be the best place to start. India was dictated heavily under British rule, and no indigenous Indian had any say in any particular matter. So Gandhi formed the freedom movement. Gandhi instilled that their stance would only be one of nonviolence and peace. Gandhi found a way to peacefully revolt like no one else has ever done before. He was able to successfully combat the discrimination that was being held against the Indian people. His influence was so powerful that Gandhi was successful in deeming his people the right to vote. And overnight, Gandhi became a national hero. In 1921, Gandhi was made leader of the National Congress of India. Throughout Gandhi's political years, he would be thrown into prison multiple times for standing against British rule, and each time he was released from prison, he fought on, stronger and more resilient than ever. Gandhi threatened Britain that they must grant him and his people dominion status or face an all-out campaign operation that would call for full independence. The British didn't find Gandhi's proposal favorable. The British responded by heavily bringing about high taxes for the Indian people, especially a high tax on salt. Gandhi had had enough of the Britain dictatorship rule in India. Gandhi put out a call for all of the people of his land to join him in a march, which now had gained the name the Salt March. And on March 12, 1930, the day that Gandhi was set to march, thousands of people from all around the country showed up to walk alongside him. Gandhi was amazed at the support and once said that I would have taken this journey alone, but look what we have here. Gandhi planted the Indian flag in the sand and said, "Today we march for independence." And he and the thousands of followers started off on the 241-mile trek to the Arabian Sea. The beach at which the march ended was rich in salt deposits. British officials had reportedly arrived at the shore a few days before and ground salt into the sand in hopes of frustrating Gandhi. But Gandhi sifted through the sand and found a lump of salt-rich mud, and he held it above him, saying, "With this I am shaking the foundation of the British Empire." Shortly after their arrival at the coast, some 60,000 people were arrested by the British and charged with civil disobedience, and many were severely beaten. Gandhi was taken into custody on May 5, 1930. He announced his intentions to lead a peaceful raid on a government salt works. Even with Gandhi behind bars, his followers pressed on, carrying Gandhi's beliefs and visions with them. On May 21st, some 2,500 marchers ignored warning from British soldiers and made their unarmed advance on the salt deposit. Webb Miller, who was an American journalist, was on the scene. He wrote scores of British soldiers rushed upon the advancing marchers and rained blows on their heads, and none of the marchers even raised an arm to fend off the blows. This is what a peaceful protest looks like. Gandhi was eventually released from prison, and for the next 15 years, he and his followers would continue to promote peaceful protest. Throughout Gandhi's protest days, there was never an account of any type of violence from him or any of his followers. And after years of Gandhi standing on principles and values, the British agreed to the Gandhi-Irwin Pact, a pact that would allow concessions including the release of thousands of political prisoners. It also granted the Indians living on the coast the right to produce minerals from the sea. And on August 15, 1947, India gained its independence from Britain. Gandhi and his people successfully showed that through peace and determination, through hardship and drawn-out patience, victory would ultimately follow suit. But after only living in independence for just a few months, Gandhi was assassinated. On January 30th, 1948, while in the garden with his grandnieces, Nathuram Godse approached Gandhi and from his Beretta fired 3 shots into Gandhi's chest, killing him immediately. The nation lost a soldier, father figure, and a hero that day. For months, people mourned in the streets over the man who brought independence to a country through peace. Today, Gandhi reminds us that while taking a stand isn't always easy, it is always the right thing to do. Gandhi's perseverance should be one that's reflected in all of us. Be peaceful, patient, caring, and loving. Keep a good heart and a pure mind, and there won't be a barrier big enough to keep you from going through.
From Houston, Texas, this is the Liberty Root Podcast.
We made it to the finish line, and another episode of the Liberty Root Podcast is almost in the books. Just a couple of things I want to cover with you guys really quick is that we're still partnering up with the National Down Syndrome Society. It's a great group over there who are doing wonderful things in our communities around the country. If you want to go help support them, I'd greatly appreciate it. That website is gofundme.com/LibertyRootStands with NDSS. That's gofundme.com/LibertyRootStands with N as in Nancy, D as in dog, SS as in Sam. Also, I wanted to remind you guys that we are now on iTunes, so it's easier than ever to get us on your tablet, smartphone, or any other device that you may have. Download iTunes, it's free. Our podcasts are all free on there as well. Just go to the search bar and type in Liberty Root Podcast, and you can find all of our current and past episodes on that. Also, if you would, we'd greatly appreciate it if you would give us a follow on Twitter or a like on Facebook and share our page to help spread the word for the great good that we're doing. I couldn't be doing all of this without you guys. I appreciate you being with me every Wednesday evening, and I look forward to being with you this same time next week. And as always, live life, restore liberty, and pursue happiness. See you guys.
This has been a Liberty Root production.